Hey everybody, this is me, the Undead Viking. This is Metal Dawn, a game from Everything Epic Games, designed by Stephen Avery and Chris Batarlis. Now, this is a cooperative game in which each player is going to have a team of 2 agents that are going to have different powers and abilities and weapons and gear and what have you. And they are going to be, the players are going to be fighting against this evil Dominus, this artificial intelligence that's trying to take over the world, and they're starting with Washington, D.C. This game is unique in a way where each, the Dominus takes 2, stages, if you will. It starts off as a satellite that is perched far overhead. You can't really fight it, so you have to hack into Dominus and then cause it to finally get so angry with you that it comes down to Earth, transforms into this giant robot that then lays waste to the nation's capital, and then you can actually fight it hand-to-hand with your weapons and powers and abilities, and hopefully take it down before the terror level of the game reaches a level that, like, basically the entire world falls into chaos and Dominus then takes over everything. It is a very, very thematic game, but it has some really, really fun elements as far as the storyline that it teaches you or drives you through, and also just the mechanisms in which you have to do battles. So let me show you an overview of how the game is played, and then we'll come back here and I'll give you my final thoughts. Alright, so this is Metal Dawn. I've gone ahead and set this game up for a 2-player game. I'm just going to kind of go over the overview of how the game runs and how a game turn will go. I'm not going to show you like an extended gameplay or anything like that. I do want to mention that there are like basically 2 games that you get with Metal Dawn. You get the co-op, which I'm going to go over really well for you and show you how the cooperative game works. But also there is a secondary way to play the game, which you could play concurrently with the first one. Or you can just set it up and play that one as you will, where the players actually will be warring with each other. They'll be fighting over areas on the board, trying to make sure that, once the threat of Dominus has been taken care of, you will then be attempting to become like the faction of government that has the most power. So Washington D.C. has crumbled, but now you can war over who gets to be in charge after the fact. So I'll talk about that in like in my final thoughts. I'll talk about that added part of the game, but I'm not going to really go too much into the gameplay because it does replicate itself pretty well as far as the base system of the game. All right, so the game is set up. You have these Dominus cards here. You notice there is the satellite. You're going to draw 1 card for each player plus 1, and you're going to place units depending on what the card tells you. So like this card, if you drew it, would tell you that there is a mission on that spot. I'll talk about missions here in just a little bit. You go to Zone 2, and so you just look at the numbers. There's Zone 2 right there. And you're going to put 2 drones and 2 soldiers. Now, I should mention that there's all these little cards in these spots, right? Those are drawn randomly and placed into these spots randomly. So you have a random setup with each time. And I'll talk more about these location cards in just a little bit. But, so you place all those down, and then you draw these. In this case, I got like 4 enemies here. I got 3 enemies here. Normally, these heroes wouldn't be here. I put them there so I can show you something in just a little bit. And then two drones or 2 enemies right there. Now, this was the last card I drew. So the last card I drew, then I placed the Dominus satellite card in that red circle there, saying that the satellite is in that location technically, and that's where you could try to hack into the Dominus satellite in the hopes of bringing the Dominus robot into play, so then you can actually take down the robot. But I'll talk about that also in just a little bit. So just briefly, so you can see everything that I'm talking about as far as the game is concerned. This track here, it is used in 2 different ways. One, it is used to show the health of your division. Your division. You're going to have a couple of heroes that are from a certain division of government, and these markers are going to be used to denote the health of like your influence power, if you will. And as you take damage and bad things happen, you'll lose that. If you ever lose it all down to 0, you're not out of the game. But you do actually, like, you're considered to be captured, and then Dominus gains a little bit of ground on everybody else, and then you get to come back and you put it back up to 15. You might be wondering, if it's up to at 15, why is there this big long score track then? That is used in the other, the secondary game, if you will, the player versus player version. So, because you'll be keeping track of a score, and whoever has the highest score wins. So that is why that is there. All right, so the game, each person is going to be given one of these cards, and they're going to have 2 agents, and they're going to have a division. The division will be just a division of government. So, like, here is the technology division, and then it has a little special power. You flip this card to cancel the text on a Dominus card. So if a Dominus card comes out and something bad you don't want, you flip the card over, and so then you stop that. Here's Black Ops. Flip this card to have each of your agents automatically complete a mission. So, like, these are obviously really powerful things that you get to use once a game, and you get to use those abilities during the game. Each person will get 2 of these random heroes, and then these heroes have this inactive side. That does not mean that, like, they're, like, dead or anything. It just means that you've used them on your turn, because you get to take a turn with each of your heroes. So here we have Ito, and then it says electronics. Drones do not self-replicate in your zone. I'll talk about drones here in just a little bit. It's like that's his special power. Let's look at Ninjace. It's like Gadgeteer. When you draw a gear, draw an extra card and then discard one. And here's Black Dahlia, which I have to believe they tried to, like, make her look like the Baroness from G.I. Joe. G.I. Joe. Sabotage. Deal +2 damage to exterminators. So, there's certain type, like, these are exterminators here. So she'd be really good at fighting those. So, it's just, like, if you've played games with, when you have, like, basically units that have special powers, you're pretty much familiar with this. So, on this player card, you're going to have, like, your 2 agents. You're going to have your division there. You put your weapon and gear for this agent here, the active mission for that agent there, and then any extra abilities they may get from completing missions down there. Any intel cards you get are shared, so they put in the middle, and pretty straightforward. And there is also a handy dandy little spot there that kind of just tells you some of the iconographies you're playing. I always like it when they put that on there, so you're not having somebody, hey, hand me the rules really quick so I can see what this is. They can just look right at their player card and they see it. So, the game is played really easy. Basically, you have a player turn. As long as it isn't the first, I should mention, as long as it isn't the first turn of the game, you do have, like, a cleanup phase where, like, you'll just, like, remove different cards and actions and things like that you've done during your turn. But right now there isn't, if you will. And technically, these 2 would not be on the board just yet, so you wouldn't take any actions. But the players go first, and then the the Dominus AI goes next. Oh, one other thing I should mention quickly. So each one of these locations, you can see it has these 4 different spots on there, and you can see there's robots and enemies in these spots. If all 4 of the spots are filled, like these 4 are right here, this location can't be entered by anybody until you've destroyed and taken down one of the enemies in those locations. So you'd have to take them down before you can move into that spot. Now, as long as there's an empty spot, of course, you can still move in. Now, also, these cards, if you look at them, they have, in some of them, they have these little icons that are in those spots, right? And if you go into those spots, and like, so, if you activate the cap building, you get to heal 3 wounds. So if you've been taking damage down there on the board, on the track, you can get it back. But so this would activate, if you go there, you get to activate that power, and then you could use the different abilities in there. So, like, these right here means that you get to draw an intel card, but you have to go to the spot that has that to use that particular location. So, just keep that in mind, and just a lot of those abilities have a lot to do with drawing cards, like drawing weapons, drawing gear. Some of them have actually, like, you'll see on this one, you'll see that there's, like, this little crosshairs there. The crosshairs is actually a combat action. The crosshairs, you get to destroy any revealed unit that's on the board, because it's like a long distance attack type of thing. Now, so on your turn, each of your heroes get to take 2 actions. and they basically they can move, they can attack, and they can try to hack Dominus, which is right there. So moving is simple. You just you say I'm going to move, and you move and you move. That's all it is. You can move from here over to here. There is no limit to the movement. You know, you're in helicopters, you're in cars, motorcycles, whatever. You don't have to, like, you know, slowly move from one spot to another. You can go as long as there's an open spot. You can move there. And I should mention that some of the heroes actually have like stealth abilities that allow them to go into spots where there are these robots. So you can go anywhere. And so, like, you don't have to use both your actions to move, technically, because you could probably move, and then attack because you get close. Now, attacking, if you don't have any weapons, you have to fight hand to hand, and you just have to be in the same spot as these things, and then you just make an attack. Now, there's no dice or anything. Combat is kind of deterministic, because the damage you do is going to be, if you don't have any weapons, you just do 1 damage and it's hand to hand. But if you do have a weapon, weapons will have a specific kind of damage and tell you the range. So this one, the M4 carbine, or carbine, or whatever you want to call it, has a range of 1, and it has a damage of 3. So you can shoot one space. You can't shoot diagonally, so if you were here, you could shoot to here, to here, to here, or to there, right? So just, you have range, and you can do damage of 3. You'll also notice that these weapons have 1, 2, and 3, meaning they can have 3 shots. So what you're going to do is after you shoot it once, then you shoot it again, and you shoot it the last time, it's empty and you have to discard the card. So there, you do have a certain, so that's, kind of like one of those things where it's like you're going to need to go to spots that allow you to draw weapons cards, like you can see right there, so you can replenish your weapons and make sure that you're able to fight. So like here's a silenced 9mm, range of 1, damage of 3. But it also says gain an intel when you attack with this weapon, so it has a little special ability there. Let me find another cool one for you. Here, like the pocket pistol. It's like gain. It also gains an intel when you use that one. Where's the... so here is a taser launcher. Notice it has unlimited, and it does damage too, and you have to be in the same spot because it has no range. But it does +1 damage versus cyborgs, a certain type of enemy. So there's all kinds of things like that, and all kinds of cool weapons that you'll be able to grab. And while I'm at it, why don't I show you some of the gear as well, just so you can see what these things. So like here is a light strike vehicle. So if you have this as your gear, you can gain 1 combat action that gets +2 damage. If you or you can take a free zone location action this turn, and you can only use that once per turn. But a free zone is just one that is free, like this one, and you can take the action that's within that one. Here is a stealth suit. So now, obviously, like I mentioned the stealth abilities. You'd have that as well. So things like that. The gear will just, it's those cool things that just kind of bend the rules and make it easier for you to win. And gear and weapons are both really, really important if you want to succeed. Now, how combat works is if you do damage of 3 to something and you target something, you then have to do something. Now, once again, this is a prototype, so it should be completely hidden. Some of these, they are and they aren't. But if it isn't revealed, what happens is I'm going to shoot that guy with a 3, and then you look and see what his strength is. In this case, it's a strength of 2. You would meet or exceed it, and then you would destroy the enemy if that was successful. And there are rules as far as how tough these things are. They kind of just scale up. Drones are always going to have a strength of 1. Soldiers are the next. They have up to 3, and then you have cyborgs, and then you have the devastating things. And so, like here, this one has 4, but they can go up all the way up to 8. So you do. So, and technically, you when you have these, you put these all in off to the side of the board. I can't show you because the board's kind of big, but and you cover up all of those numbers or whatever with these, and then when you're told to put these on the board, you randomly pick one and put it on there. Now, drones always have I gotta see if I can find one here. Drones always have a power of 1, and of course I probably don't have one handy, but they can self-destruct actually when they get struck. So when that happens, if they here we go. So notice this one has a self-destruct bomb on it. So if you can kill it with 1, and you could hand-to-hand it by just punching it if you wanted to. But anything within that zone would take damage when it was destroyed. So kind of cool things as far as that are concerned. You also, some of them, like after you destroy them, like here's one, you know, if you destroyed this one with 4, you'd actually like be able to pull off, like you get a gear, you know, after that you could draw a card for destroying it, so you get a reward. And I like that too. I mean, like, there's too many cooperative games where it's like, oh, you destroyed it, what do I get? No, you destroyed it, that's your reward. But sometimes you get stuff, which is cool. But anyway, so that's moving, that's attacking, and then hacking Dominus. So if you're in the same spot as Dominus is right there, and you're in one of these locations, what you can do is you can try to hack Dominus. And Dominus is going to have 5 intel cards. And as long as you've gained an intel card, you are going to... So let me just grab one of these. I'll grab one randomly here. And you can say, I am going to try to hack an intel card. You say, I'm using this for... And I should mention that intel cards can be used for other things as well. So like... you know, discard to heal your division 3 hit points if you had it. But anyway, so you turn this over, you say 4, and then what you're going to do is you're going to grab one of these intel cards. And what you're going to do is you're going to hope that you meet or exceed the intel it's on. So you grab this one. See, we got a 1. Woo! So anything would have beat it. But you beat it, and so you've hacked that part of Dominus. And the way to win is you need to hack all 4 of these spots to make Dominus appear. And so, you know, so once that's successful, you've made Dominus come back down to Earth and take his robot form. Alright, so what does Dominus do on his turn? Well, Dominus will increase the terror track, which is down here. It goes all the way up to, if it hits 10, you lose, because, and there are ways to reduce it as well. So, you know, and after that, all the units will attack the area they're in if they're in that location and they're, you know, they haven't been destroyed. Units, you need to be killing these because they can quickly do a lot of damage, and for whenever they do damage, you're going to increase the terror track as well. So, you know, I would never have allowed this, because remember, you have 2 of these people per person that's on the board. So you might be saying, that's impossible. How are you going to take all these guys? But remember, each person has 2 agents. So, you know, you're going to try to wipe the board of these because of the fact that if you don't, you know, bad things are going to happen. They're going to do damage to the locations they're in, and when that happens, you increase this track, which can cause the end of the game. Then drones replicate. Any drones that are on the board that haven't been destroyed, so let's say we destroyed these 2. Any drones that are on the board that haven't been destroyed will replicate themselves and add another drone to that location. If in this situation you have these 2 and they weren't killed, we would put one down. We'd have to put another one down, and then we'd have to put it in an orthogonal location next to it. And so you can see, if you don't take care of the drones, which, you know, they aren't very powerful, they only have a strength and attack of 1, but if you don't take care of them quickly, they will replicate and start taking over the board. And remember, the spots are the important thing, right? They're taking over those spots. You can't go into them anymore. So you need to take these down. If you ever are being told to add a drone and you can't, then you're going to increase the terror track as well when that happens. So after all that is done, then you're going to draw Dominus cards once again. And you draw 1 for each player. So like you draw 1, in this case, we go to zone 10, and we'd add 3 drones to zone 10. There is this information down here that like a special thing would happen normally, but we're not going to do that because it isn't the last card. Remember, we have 2 players. So the next one is, we're going to put a mission down, and then zone 2, 2 drones and 2 soldiers, and then it says disrupt any adjacent zones that are closed and have no agent present. So then they could disrupt those locations that are next to it. So and then you would move Dominus to that spot. So you can't. It isn't just going to stay in one spot. It's going to have new. Remember, we spawn creatures in there, so Dominus is going to have things protecting it on that location. Now, the one thing I didn't talk about is missions. I want to talk about that. So when a mission is on a spot, you can collect the mission. And then mission cards are just like these cards right here. And then the missions will just have you do something. So like this mission is going to say, it says to discard a weapon to complete this mission. So if you do, and I'll talk about fail here in just a second. If you do, you succeed, discard to decrease terror by 1, or attach this to the agent, and then if you attach to the agent is going to get stealth, because it's a special ability. That's what that is down there. Now the fail, what happens with that is that if Dominus goes to location, let's say Dominus heads back here, and nobody has taken care of this mission, like they haven't collected this mission on this location, that mission automatically fails, and then you draw a mission card, and then like one agent must take 5 wounds, and so that's like the failure. Now you could get lucky and draw one, like this one, which just doesn't have a fail code on it, so then nothing bad would happen. But they can, the failures will come into play more often than not, and they will force more and more bad things to happen. But that's the way these co-ops work, right? So there's more and more bad things happen. All right, so let's say you've hacked him, it's done, and now Dominus shows up, and so now you have this giant robot to deal with. So here's the giant robot, and they go on the location. Now what? Dominus has 10 hit points. And Dominus is going to gain special Dominus robot powers. So you're going to draw, these cards are the Dominus robot cards. You get a bunch of them. And you draw 3 of them so you can give him some special abilities. And so then you'll place those on the board. And then you start drawing a card for Dominus each turn. And it'll tell you a couple things. One, it'll tell you where he's going to move. So in this case, he moves 1 space that way. And I should mention that it does wrap around for Dominus. So if you drew this card to say move 1, and it would go off the board, he would just pop up back there. And then, if you move to a spot where there's anybody there, he's going to do damage 4. And once again, you are drawing multiple cards of these. And then, you have special, it's like for the final space, you spawn 4 cyborgs in the final spot. And then he deals 2 wounds to each agent in the adjacent zone. So, and then if you move into the same zone as Dominus to fight him, you take 1 damage. So players, obviously, once Dominus becomes a robot, they have to do it to enable them to win the game. However, he becomes way more powerful and way more difficult to deal with, and has all these special powers and abilities. And you not only do you have to kind of you can still fight him from a distance, but he's spitting out more and more cyborgs, more and more annihilators and terminators and soldiers and what have you. And the difficulty ramps up. It's kind of like when you're fighting a boss fight in a video game, and you do that last tick of damage, so they send them into like that weird frenzy mode at the very end, where you have to basically just hang on and survive and hopefully take them down. Now, if you're able to finally destroy him without this ever climbing up to 10 on the terror field, if you're able to destroy him by taking him down, remember he's got 10 hit points, and you will place his token, if I just had it, there it is. You place his token right there on 10. If you manage to destroy him, you have destroyed Dominus, you've destroyed the artificial intelligence, and you have kept the world safe for now, if you will. So, it's got a lot going on, it's got a ton of little pieces, and it kind of really bridges the gap in my mind between I hate saying thematic Euro, because there's lots of thematic Euros, but this is, in my opinion, a thematic game, or a Ameritrash game, if you will, hiding with behind Euro mechanisms, if you will. So, but let me talk more about that in my final thoughts. So a weird thing happened. Basically, I got this game. Chris Batarlis contacted me, asked me if I was interested in taking a look at the game. I said, sure. I got it. I played it. I really liked it. And I remember remarking to people at the table, I was like, this kind of feels like a Stephen Avery game. And I hadn't even looked at the box. I didn't even realize that it was by Stephen Avery. Now, Stephen Avery, he's designed a lot of games that I like. Nothing Personal comes to mind. You might want to go check out that review. I did that a long, long time ago. Each of his games, it's weird. He is totally a thematic guy. I mean, I've met him. I even roomed with him at a convention once. But he tends to make really oddball designs, and he just kind of is all over the place with what he creates. And this is nothing against Chris at all. I'm sure Chris was maybe the person who reined in the chaos a little bit of his design and created it to make it what it was. But he has, as I mentioned, this way to bridge a really, really driving theme, this artificial intelligence taking over the world type of theme, but then combine it with like the Euro simplicity of it, you know, and yeah, people are going to look at this and they're going to say, okay, this kind of reminds me of like I hate to say this, but I mean, it kind of reminds me of like a Pandemic type game. You know, there's the whole, you know, the drones exploding and moving out. The fact that like the trouble of the center of the trouble kind of roves around the board as per the cards you draw, those sorts of things. And so yeah, I mean, I could get that feel, but I don't really enjoy Pandemic. I don't really like that game, but I didn't feel like it was Pandemic. Maybe it was the theme. And that is a credit, I guess, to the fact that, for me at least, it married a really awesome theme with mechanisms that I really enjoyed in this instance, if you will. Now, there's lots of things to like about it, but for the most part, it meets all my cooperative criteria. Everybody works together. Nobody is like that one person controlling the flow. And each person, like, you know, just feels important. Plus, it's really, really tough. It's really, really tough. It took me 3 plays before I finally got a whiff of a win, and then I actually finally got the win on the 4th try. So I do like cooperative games that you know, just punch and kick and scream and make it difficult to win, because then you earn it, right? So I really enjoyed that as well. Now, the secondary part of the game, the whole area control player versus player part, that's fun, but I personally enjoyed playing it as a separate entity. We tried to do the concurrent thing with us, and maybe it just took too long, right? You know, the first part took a certain amount of time, and then the second part, you know, like, we finally won, right? And I was like, okay, we finally won, now let's play this second part. And then we played the second part, we're like, maybe it was just that. But when we came back and played the second part, you know, by itself, as a game by itself, that was a really enjoyable way. And how cool is that? That if you get the game, you're going to get 2 different ways to play it as well. So, you know, if you're looking for a good co-op with an awesome theme, I would really strongly suggest that you check this one out. I doubt you're going to be disappointed. If you have any questions about the game, as always, ask away. I'll try to answer those as best as I can. Thank you very much for taking the time to watch this video. And until next time, have yourself one heck of an awesome day. All right, bye-bye.